condition tags are transferred across correctly, and then we can set our build in the project organizer. Where is my build? In the targets. So in my web help, we can set this and specify what we want to do with the conditional text, whether you want it included or excluded. So if I were to, for example, exclude the audience employee stuff and build, then I will get the expected behavior here. So that does, in fact, work. And I have not seen any problems with this. The models are different, and I can imagine a scenario where very complex crossing over kinds of conditions might not work properly, but in our limited testing, we have not managed to break it for what it's worth. So, a couple of questions here. Is filtering metadata imported correctly for referenced content that becomes a snippet? I do not know. I would have to test it, or have you test it and take a look at it and see if it works. I have not tested that particular use case. Did Flare auto-detect the conditionals? It did auto-detect the conditionals. What I believe it does not do is auto-detect the settings. I don't think it picks up your DITA val files and then does what it's supposed to off of those, but it did auto-detect the conditionals. Okay, and earlier somebody asked about round-tripping snippets. I am going to talk about export. Export is problematic. All right. Are there any other questions about the import side of things? This is really where I kind of wanted to spend some time, because this does actually work quite well. And of course, once you've got this information in here and you build, now you have web help. And once you have your web help, or as you build your web help, you can then take the web help and use it as your output and do whatever you need to do with it. You can, of course, customize this in all the usual ways in Flare, and certainly create different kinds of versions of this as appropriate, and put your logos on it and do all the other things you might want to do. So in this case, you'll notice I told it to exclude the audience employees, and I get a stripped down table of contents and really a lot less information that's going on here, because it went ahead and it filtered out those topics. You can, of course, also filter farther down at the paragraph level, those kinds of things. All right, I have a pile of questions. Let me see if I can go through some of those and address them. Okay, can you track what was changed post-import to help manage changes that don't work so well as export? You would have to do the kinds of change tracking that you do on the Flare side. So there's not going to be anything in particular there where DITA can help you with that. It's just a Flare issue. Are context-sensitive settings from resource ID kept? I don't know. If you have customized your DITA style sheets, your CSS, can these be imported? Yes, you can import them, but I'm not so sure that they're going to map over to your elements. It would be worth a shot, and it might work. I would try it. Auto import didn't really work well. Well, our experience was that we updated the files and we told it to re-import, and we didn't get our updates. So it just didn't seem to necessarily pick up the information. So there we were, and it was a little strange. And somebody asked about index entries. I have not tested index entries. I'm sorry. I will find out and include that in some of our follow-up messages. All right, so what I wanted to do then was kind of switch over and look at the other side of things, which was the question of export. So I'm going to close some of these and bring up some actually really simplified kind of topics here. So I'm going to open up an existing Flare project that I created. We did try actually to bring in the DITA stuff and then export it back out, and it was not pretty. So I don't really recommend going down that road. So we built one here. This is just a very, very, very small project. It's got a topic in it. It's got a table. It's got a content explorer. It's got some other things. And since somebody asked about snippets, I suppose we could go ahead and just create a snippet and do it that way. So let me think about this for a second. Let me put something right here. So we'll make a snippet. And I want to, no. I want to create a snippet, sorry. So what I'll do is, this is going to be a snippet. So I think I told you that, oh lordy, okay, this is what I get when I do things live. I am pretty much a novice at using Flare. That is not our thing. That is not where we are focused. And so anytime I have to do things inside Flare, bad things happen to me. It's not Flare's fault. Okay, so there's my snippet, which I have now built. And then if we take a look in here, there it is. And we have our project, and we have our, I think, 2 topics that I built is all. Yeah. So I have topic and topic. So what we can do then is we can go ahead and we can tell it that we want to export this information. And we have a target. Let me go ahead and save everything. We have a target here called my DITA build or something like that. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to tell it to build my DITA output. And I want to view the output folder. And I get a DITA map, and I get some content in a subdirectory. Now, for starters, I'm not terrifically happy about, from a DITA point of view, I'm not terrifically happy about having the DITA map at a higher level than the content. That's a somewhat unusual way of doing things in DITA land. Okay, so, but let's take our DITA map and take a look at that. So I'm going to tell it to edit in XMetal and see if XMetal will just open it. And so here it is, and it comes up, and we do have a topic. It did not render the other topic for whatever reason. I'm getting an unresolved reference, which is probably, there's the snippet. So the snippet did not resolve, and let's take a look here at, there it is. So conref, resources, snippets, my snippet.dita did not resolve for whatever reason. So to answer the original question, can you export snippets? I kind of doubt it, but I don't know for sure. Certainly based on this little test, it is not so happy. The other thing I wanted to point out here is an oddity that I think results from working in HTML as a source format, essentially. If you look at my XML, my DITA output, it has a heading 1, and it has another heading 1. And what's going on here, if you look at the source code, is that it has a title of heading 1, and it has a P tag of heading 1. Now, if this were HTML, that would make some amount of sense because you have a title in the heading area, which goes up in the title bar, and then you have a title in the body area, which goes into the text of the browser that you're displaying. I think what's happening here is that the title has been literally mapped to a DITA title, but the DITA title element usually is displayed. It's not that sort of stored in the title bar thing. So we get duplication of the heading 1s, which is a little strange. And then from there, you know, there's really no telling what would go on from what would happen from there. So so that's kind of where we are. It does output. It does validate. It is valid, which means it conforms to